Thank you very much, Drakos. I'm Medic, and I'm joined by your favorite caster's favorite caster. It's Andrew Vedius Day, and alongside him is Eragon, whose surname I've forgotten. I knew his first name was Adam, but I didn't want to do it without the surname.
I'm not going to tell you now.
It's Harvey, isn't it?
No, you're a terrible friend for
If someone was above 100 LP in Masters, I would remember that
I was
surname.
waiting. How long would it take for him to reference my decay?
Enough about us. Enough about our solo queue adventures. Let's talk about the two teams taking the Rift today. It's MDK up against G2 Esports in a battle that mildly could be put as David versus Goliath. MDK didn't even really make it through our summer playoffs, and here they are in the season finals. There's a few tales that have been told about Mad Lions as an organization over the years, sneaking their way into Worlds. The last 3 Worlds in a row they've managed to get in. In fact, I think it might be 4. Will we add one more to the list this season finals?
Well, the interesting thing is, if they do win today, they won't lock a spot at Worlds.
Yep.
2 series, right?
It very much depends on the results of G2. But yeah, it's going to be a hard-fought battle in the playoffs. As you rightly said, they ended up losing 2-0 in the first round. They then lost to KC in the lower bracket. And we've kind of been left wanting. As you rightly said, they limped their way into playoffs, winning a bunch of tiebreakers.
Truthfully, there was a discussion. Harvey, you are still wrong. It's
still
crazy.
Wrong?
Truthfully, I mean, they lost 2 to KC. There's a really big discussion as to whether or not it should have been KC here instead of them. So, I mean, the cope angle now is they've had 4 weeks, right? They've had 4 weeks to fix their issues and other major regions to draw inspiration from. So, let's see what they bring out today.
Yeah, I mean...
Honey. Sorry, guys. Okay, I fixed it now. Focus on the League of Legends, I promise you. Talia and Zeri banned out by G2. Mad Lions Core, you're going to get rid of Misfortune to kick us off. It was G2 who played that mostly during summer. We saw yesterday a pick that has been adopted by the entirety of the LEC. Alongside that, another AD carry removed from our picks and bans. The Ashe is sitting on the bench alongside her. Aurora will join her.
So I was going to say Aurora, Corki, Rumble is still up, but there goes the Aurora. So Corki's still up and available for caps if he wants to take it. B1 is pretty strong as well. Ivan, Leona is a duo that we've seen rise up. I imagine Mad Lions Koi could prioritize that too, but also your AP junglers. Elyoya loves his Zyra, and classic tanks are available as well.
I will say that even though Rumble is up, we don't really know Myrwn to be a Rumble player. And honestly, I wasn't super impressed with G2's Rumble when we think back to even summer. So we'll see if that's even going to be the priority. Well, instead they look to lock in something like, well, I was going to say like the Tristana, even after the nerfs. I wouldn't be surprised if Cap still values that, but they're going for the first big Rell.
Ezreal going to be hovered here as well, still really strong. Dropped off a little bit in priority at the very least in the LCK because of the base damage nerfs. I think it's like 5% less damage in terms of AD on the Q, but still going to be locked in. Something I've learned now is that Leona Ezreal, really strong duo early game and prioritize very often as well, but looks like they're going to build up a poke composition now with the Maokai as well as the Ezreal. You can lock in some other poke champion in the mid lane as well.
Yeah, you already have a lot of zone control from Mad Lions Koi. As you say, the Leona can team up well with that Ezreal. Lock down and press the attack so powerful around that level 3 mark.
I'm wondering if the on-hit Varus is going to come through. We already saw it a lot from Han Summer following the buffs, but he knows what the AD carry matchup is. The question is he going to pick something? Oh, we've been seeing Kalista kind of return over in the LCK, and I was looking through the patch notes, and like the last update she had was a nerf. So I was kind of surprised, but it does seem that with the shift in AD carry prioritization, Kalista still functions as a very strong and powerful bot lane 2 versus 2. And also I think with a meta that's kind of squishy, even the Maokai like relatively squishy, I think that she can find a lot of success.
Yeah, I do. There's the blind Kennen as well. I think this has been rising up priority too because of just how strong a blind is, beating all the different top laners in the meta as well. The thing is, I think the big question mark is, does Fresskowy play mid Ezreal? I don't think he does, and I don't think he would take it. I think you're going to take Ezreal down in the bot lane. With Ashe taken away, I'm not sure what options Supa has into the Kalista. His pool in general doesn't really like it. You have the Zeri potentially, but I think it's probably going to be Ezreal in bot lane.
Yeah, especially with Zeri already banned away. Unlikely that we'll see her taken down in that bottom lane. Alistar locked in for Mad Lions Koi, so it's AD carry and support for G2 alongside their top laner, where it's jungle, AD, and support for Mad Lions Koi. They're going to remove the Corki, Tristana as well, something Caps has really made his name on over the last few months.
Yeah, Myrwn here, I'm looking for champions into Kennen, and the best one right now, in my opinion, is Jace into the Kennen. It also facilitates the poke composition, works really well with the Maokai. They're going to ban away the tank pick into the Kennen, which kind of ignores the pick, but I think Jace is something that G2 have to consider.
What about, I know Twisted Fate seems to have fallen off, but do you rate things like Twisted Fate into the matchup as well?
I'm not a big fan of TF right now.
That's
I think TF in general is just pretty weak. Teams are still picking it, but when I see a TF, often it's pretty hard to play around and doesn't get a big lead as it should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same camp, but we do know that Myrwn did prioritize this a lot when we think back to throughout summer. We'll see what the final ban hit is for G2. I quite like your call out of the Jace. I'm also like, maybe Varus top, maybe, but yeah, Jace makes a lot of sense. So now what will Mad Lions do? You expect the top lane pick to come through because you know that you can get yourselves what in theory should be a counter. They could pick something relatively safe like an Ornn, maybe. If they want to like double down on the front line, they can then round their draft out with something like an Azir, play a very solid front to back with Ezreal and Azir potentially, but maybe they want more damage threats.
I'm thinking of options that work into range, stuff like Camille as well. Oh, Lulu.
Is that Lulu top?
It's Lulu.
It's Lulu. I think that's Lulu top.
Okay.
What season was the Lulu solo lane meta?
I mean, we saw it more in mid than top lane because it was high, I think, remember, cleared a bunch of minions. It's the most satisfying minion wave clear I've ever seen in my life.
They reintroduced that. They've made it so the Q hits again twice. But that was a while back.
But remember, like, that was AP Lulu. On hit Lulu was also a thing in top lane.
Yeah.
And you'd go things like Rage Blade and all that random stuff.
But it's back, I suppose.
I mean, we'll see if it's back.
If it is top as well, that's such a Myrwn pick. Let's be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
When we talked about Myrwn coming in from the ERLs, the whole idea was, you know, Fiddlesticks top, all of these things that are so much more eclectic than our usual picks. So I am very excited to see it. I'll do some research while you guys talk about stuff. Obviously, it's Smolder. How did you guys not see that coming?
4 weeks off, and this is what they've cooked for us.
Is it Smolder mid or bot is the question, though.
I think Smolder alongside an Alistar makes more sense. It's much easier for you to get stacks.
Yeah, but I remember in the LCK there was that Smolder mid game that was really popping off.
But I think Ezreal has a much better matchup into the Azir. So I think the laning is going to be a lot better there if you send Ezreal there, and Smolder down in bot, I think. But my worry is how the lane's going to go. This looks a little bit rough. Maybe the Alistar can neutralize the all-in potential and the trades from the Kalista Rell. I wonder if there's going to be any kind of lane swap shenanigans. I don't know what Lulu top does, I have to say. In recent times, I haven't seen it.
It's so funny to me that, like, were you around for the Lulu top meta? Like, were you even playing the game? Were you born?
Was I born?
So, I have some data. Last time we saw it in a major region was LCS Spring 2022 from Puni. It was Immortals versus TSM. Last time we saw it, the LEC, it was Vitality versus Mad Lions. Shigenda played it, went 0-0-12 in 2021.
Was that funnel?
It may have been fun. I mean, he's got a Zhonya, Zashirelius, and an Ardent Sensor, so maybe funnel. But it has been a while since we last saw the Lulu top here in the LEC.
But not as long as I thought, to be fair.
But that was less of on hit and more of supportive Lulu.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, I'm excited. I like the fact that MDK, as you said, they are the underdogs coming into this series, and they brought us something unique, and I'm excited to see how things play out. Game 1 of MDK versus G2 Season Finals, round 1. See who can go up against Fnatic in the upper bracket, and who'll move down to the lower bracket.
The G2, the continuation of a run that has been happening over the last 8 months, in fact. 3 shields to their name. They're looking to add the LEC Champions Trophy alongside it. They have already qualified for Worlds. Even if they lose both their series, they will be our 3rd seed, which is why MDK just winning this series wouldn't guarantee them a spot in Worlds for the 5th year in a row. Looking across the map, in terms of runes, nothing too surprising. However, my eyes do go up towards the top lane, and Eragon, you're a top lane aficionado. Yeah. Can you break down this matchup for us?
I'm trying to think of how this matchup should go, trying to simulate it in my head, and it's just, I think Kennen outranges, but Lulu might get the push early. She's really oppressive when you lane against her.
My instinct is early levels, Lulu should have a trade advantage.
Yes.
Just because you can, it depends on how you start, but you can start with the shield until you can trade health that way. Alternatively, you can use the W to polymorph so that they literally can't trade back. Alternatively, he could just start Q and go for faster wave clear, because Kennen's wave clear isn't the strongest in the early game.
I figured with range versus range as well, we'd see more of an approach, sending 5 people top, control the bushes with a ward potentially, so that the range top laners can duke it out using the bushes that they have control. I also thought maybe there'd be a level 1 angle with the priority from the Ezreal mid into invading Raptors as the Maokai, because that's something you can do, especially into a weak level 1 of a Vi, but looks like they're going to go the quieter approach and just off the full clears.
Little lance start from Myrwn in that top lane, trading aggressively onto Broken Blade as the wave does push in.
The priority is kind of going the way that we expected. Mid going in favor of Fresskowy very early on, getting that fast push, forcing caps underneath the tower. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, Alistar, Smolder, not the strongest early levels, which means that this Kalista is going to have a bit of a field day. They're looking to try and get that early level 2. Remember that it was this bot lane from G2 that died twice to Fnatic's bot lane from an early level 2 play. Here comes.
Do you think that's why they're playing the Rell themselves? Because they're like, hey, we play Rell in this matchup. We just get the early kills.
It was really strange, right? It was just simple level 2 stuff, dying on level 2 timers. Wow,
So
these trades hurt.
Yeah. So I believe, yeah, Myrwn can just keep trading like that, and that's the oppressive part of Lulu in these laning matchups. It was the same back when Lulu top was a thing. Going by the Comet, I assume that Myrwn is going to go for more of an AP build, but we'll see.
I also think because you have double AD carries on your team, it makes sense to try and index into some of that magic damage. Obviously, Maokai can provide a little bit of it, as we see Alvaro flash away.
They're looking for a dive. The chunk onto Broken Blade.
Myrwn's hit 3. He's got Polymorph. Broken Blade under the tower, rooted up, and there's first blood. MDK on the board early on.
The big chunks from the trade early on in the lane phase. BB not like expecting how much damage Myrwn is going to do to set up that dive, and skipping all the topside camps, going straight from bot 3 cap into a top dive. Excellent pathing from Elyoya.
Yeah, just great adaptation. The communication must have been clear from Myrwn. Here, I have the level advantage. I've got a stacked wave. I think we can dive and execute it flawlessly. Well done. Nice trades from Fresskowy in mid lane as well, but now G2 set their sights on bot.
The dive here. Alvaro does have the exhaust, puts it down early. Mikyx flashes away, he's tanking the tower. Alvaro will fall first. Yike has to flash away as well and almost dies. 100 HP on him. And in the end, Supa unable to chase any further.
Excellent dive from G2 here. Fortunately for Supa, he's going to stay alive and might be able to farm this wave. It would have been a disaster if they died in terms of Supa for a support potentially, because then he wins the wave as well. So best case scenario really on this dive for MDK.
I mean, already a marked improvement from what we saw from G2 in the finals, where they fumbled a few dives towards Fnatic's bot lane. They're able to make this one work. Alvaro really doing the best that he can in that situation, given that he was only level 2. And good utilization of the exhaust to make that dive as awkward as possible. Still, though, as you rightly said, G2 pulling away with the kill. Dragon now spawning in about a minute's time. I wonder if that will be an early priority, because when we think back to the finals, this was something that G2 had a lot of focus on, and it resulted in some very questionable fights.
Yeah, I think when you have a Kalista, generally your main goal is to secure these dragons, right, and potentially forego these these grubs, sorry, up top side especially. However, though, you do have an Ezreal, and you have priority up top side as well, so I think you could potentially contest both.
Definitely a possibility. Caps is on the receiving end of a lot of hurt in the mid lane right now. About 10 CS down. Fresskowy just using the extra range that he has early on the Ezreal to poke out Caps under that tower. Both of them have burnt their TPs to get back into the lane. Myrwn setting up a slow push here as Broken Blade will have this wave bouncing back towards him. There's a little bit of risk at Elyoya, perhaps after doing his topside camps, going for a gank, and we saw Mikyx actually moving towards the top side to cover the push out initially from Broken Blade.
He's hesitant to clear that ward naturally, as Alvaro and Fresskowy are ready to protect it. Keep my eyes on the junglers as they just continue to clear through their camps. Yike has his sights set on the top crab, as Fresskowy, credit to him, doing very well in the mid lane matchup so far. You can see the advantages kind of going the way that we expected them based on that early lane priority. MDK doing a good job of finding that early dive top. MDK setting up around this bot river. They have their sights on the dragon, of course. They can't really afford to start it right now, given that Hansama does have that early push in bot.
Hans had a huge stacked wave, and there were so many pings coming down, maybe to look to play on it, maybe a dive onto Supa. For now, there's a 4-man bot lane potentially covering that. You can see Elyoya, rather, could have pathed top to that stacking wave that Myrwn was creating. It looked like they maybe wanted to dive on that as well. You could see the chunk onto BB, but instead, sticking around, valuing the bot lane, not letting them get dove.
Myrwn will be able to get the push in here. Broken Blade, no TP as well, so Myrwn should be able to get at least a plate. Might just walk around the corner. It's a little bit of danger, has no wards in that top side jungle, so decides instead of going for that little bit of extra damage, get the reset, be on a better timer to come back out onto the map. I will say, coming into this game, something we wondered about was how much MDK's boot camp would affect them. And I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. We are only 6 minutes into the game, but Supa is playing Smolder for only the 3rd time in his career. Fresskowy's bringing out the Ezreal for the first time, as Alvaro's caught a little bit in the bot side, but unable to get the knockup means that Alvaro can just walk away. And it is nice to see the time that they have had seems to have been spent on inventing new stuff rather than just trying to iterate on the old things.
Let's see if they can convert it into anything, though, as Elyoya, he does get the cross map, securing those early grubs. Nice ulti from Fresskowy. Again, continuing to play this matchup very well, keeping that pressure onto Caps. And that means that the dragon is going to be cross-mapped on the bot side. So ultimately, a relatively even game here so far in the early game.
Hans has had a freeze down in bot lane. At the very least, now it's slow pushing out, but the wave state's been pretty bad down in bot side for Supa for a long time, and that's accumulating into about a 20 CS lead. That's going to slow push and crash. I wonder if they'll fish for some kind of engage or dive on the level 6 of Yike, but maybe not, considering, you know, with Analyst, it's pretty hard to dive.
It's only level 3 right now, so relatively squishy. Elyoya coming across will be met by Yike, who lets the blue reset. Yeah. Neither of them have the upgraded smite yet, so if it did go below 600, either of them could have secured that objective. Supa will catch the wave, and you can see how many stacks he's on the Smolder, just underneath his nameplate. If one of you could kindly put a circle around that, that would be great. Sure. You know, you can see Supa at 46 right now. The execute threshold no longer increases if you have more stacks. Okay, this is much more complicated than it usually is.
I've broken
it.
Okay,
look, we'll just pretend there's a circle there, guys. Okay, on the 49, underneath Supa's name. There we go. It's cool, Vedi.
I found it again.
Yeah, you got it?
Yeah. Wait.
All praise.
Wait.
All hail. Here we go.
That's what I'm looking for.
Nice.
People have no idea how complicated that was. That's not in.
Flash going in, slicing mouse flash away from Myrwn as well. Yike was on his way across, and the control ward spots him out, so Myrwn doesn't decide to stick in that slicing mouse, instead burning his summoner to escape.
Yeah, you can see Yike desperately trying to force a play with his ultimate off cooldown, then wanting to clear after it whilst it's on cooldown. Trying to fish for something top BB, not going to find the engage, and the flash going to be popped for Myrwn. Maybe there's a regank there opportunity if they send someone top as well, maybe the Mikyx, potentially in the future, but it looks like it's just going to be a full clear down to the bot side again for Yike.
It's a sizable lead though for the G2 bot lane. You can see, as you mentioned already, about a 20 CS lead. But alongside that kill, it's almost 800 gold right now for Hans Sama. That's negated a little bit by Myrwn's lead in the top lane, and Fresskowy's about 100 gold in mid. So the teams are even in terms of total gold, but in terms of where it is, there's a big discrepancy on the map.
So I was going to say that I'm impressed with Broken Blade being able to keep up in farm given how much action has been thrown up there, and then we immediately show and he misses 2 minions, one of them being a Kennen. So
-1. Wait, we can do that as well.
Okay, that's a very big one, Medic. Yeah. But yeah, ultimately, like, that top lane matchup, even after the early kill, Broken Blade not really in that much of a deficit. Obviously, Myrwn going to be able to catch this wave. Broken Blade even in a good position to secure this plate. We're kind of setting ourselves up nicely for the next Dragon and the next Grubs respawn. Both teams working towards their first item as sights on Fresskowy here.
Jump in onto him. The cease and desist coming out as well. Alvaro gets the knock up, but the Emperor's Divide and the Ignite is enough. Caps gets the kill on his opposing mid laner. Now Alvaro's in a world of hurt, trying to get to the safety of the tower with the locket coming out. Caps still secures him. Supa now trying to trade back onto Mikyx, but Hans Summer's come to join the party. Mikyx pulled out with the face call as Yike goes in with the Bolt Breaker. And Elyoya and Supa down to half HP.
I was going to say, G2 are having a hard time forcing with the Vi and the Azir, because a play you want to make with the Azir post 6 is to shuffle in and push back, but Ezreal has the E, so they finally find the window, chain CC Fresskowy and make the pick.
Ultimately, I think they caught Yike. Sorry, Yike was able to catch him completely off guard. Broken Blades.
Slicing mouse him again. The wild growth coming out from Myrwn, but is it enough to keep him alive? Puts the glitter lance down. Just enough of a shield from Mikyx there to keep Myrwn standing on his 2 feet.
Broken Blade can't afford to overstay, but let's look back at this play, and Yike is able to sneak his way in. It looks like that Alvaro didn't spot him out for a scout. He's looking to try and collapse onto Mikyx, and then the chain CC comes through. He just doesn't get an opportunity to move. Even though he ease away, the Ignite connects, and then the follow-up fight is clean from G2.
Yeah, and the burst comes through from Supa, but that's all he has, right? A bit of burst hit from the ultimate, and then he has no gas. There's no more DPS, but dive coming down to Fresskowy.
Fresskowy still has the flash. Will use it to dash away from the crash down and the Bolt Breaker. Burns his sum to escape, but dodges away from the engage.
You could argue a very minor misexecution there from G2 was they used both the Rell engage and the Vi Q at the same time, which meant that Fresskowy with a single flash could dodge both. Regardless, they still get the flash out. It doesn't really cost them a huge amount, and they're going to do a lot of damage to that bot tower. It will cost them the grubs on the top side and a potential redive onto Broken Blade as well, given that he has no TP or flash, but ultimately G2 sitting in a very comfortable spot as their Kalista continues to get stronger.
At the very least, MDK surviving the bot dive as well as securing 6 grubs now is going to be open them up some decent side lane plays. My only thing is that you don't really have that many side lane champions. You don't really have one at all. So utilizing the grubs in the mid game isn't going to be there. I don't really know who's going to match Caps. It's going to be quite difficult.
Has flash here, and you know he's Azir, so he can just do that, shuffle his way away. Drake up in 10 seconds time. G2 have total control of the bot side of the map right now. Hans Sama about to pick up his 4th plate of the game. The gold lead has really exploded in that bot lane. 1.3 2K ahead for Hansama now.
Bear in mind, this is already a favorable matchup for G2. MDK willingly picked the Smolder into it. And Broken Blade, once again.
He's just doing this on repeat. Goes in with a slice and mash from Wild Growth coming out from Myrwn. He'll be able to walk away, but it's an ult for ult exchange, and Broken Blade seems satisfied with that for now.
I guess you could argue that with the chip damage from Lulu, just committing to the all-ins makes sense. No TPs from either top lane. This will be a 4v4.
Broken Blade is moving down from the top side. Supa trying to get some damage down onto Hansama. Mikyx jumping across the wall. Lands the Shadowing Strike into the Magnet Storm. Mom called for a little bit of help. Alvaro goes in onto Hansama, but there's no follow-up, and he immediately cleanses away the sun. Fate's Call coming out, and Alvaro is a pinata. The pincushion falls. Next up, Elyoya, who flashes away but can't dash far enough to escape the clutches of Caps. Supa and Fresskowy now on the wrong side of the rift, because G2 have chased them behind the turret, and they'll find another, a double for Caps.
An excellent team fight for G2. They find the massive 3-man Rell ultimate engage, and crucially Supa, his ult only heals him. It hits barely anyone, only Mikyx if I remember right.
Now they're looking for the last member of MDK. Supa trying to get out of this situation. He can't get one back. And that'll be 4 dead on the side of MDK. As G2 extend their lead to 7-1, they'll secure the tower, secure the dragon. And the early game was a question mark coming into this series, but they're quick to fix it.
Take a look at this replay. So the engage comes down from Mikyx. He manages to find the massive 3-man buffers through the ultimate from Maokai, but then the ultimate from Supa is a bit underwhelming, only hitting the very back line. Hansama gets away from it, and Alvaro gets run down. The Fate's Call gets used as well. They pop Alvaro, and then the fight's just won.
The question mark I have is, why are MDK spectators to that dragon falling? You know, they're a double AD carry composition that's running with a Lulu top that should very much be focused on scaling later game team fights, and trying to force these fights against a Kalista who'd already finished a first item, I think, was an ambitious play to make.
It's super weird, right? Because you have 6 scrubs, you can play for top tier 1 as well. You have a bunch of volatile trades in topside, which means that Broken Blade is always chunked. You can always potentially dive him, but instead you opt for a dragon fight when you have 6 grubs and a super scaling composition with a Smolder who's behind versus Hansama, who's super fed as well.
It's been a struggle for MDK to really find their mark in this game so far. It was Spain they went for the boot camp, right? Not Brazil? I'm just looking at the scoreline and...
Wow.
G2 stayed in Germany, so it makes sense, right? It's, yeah. We talked about their bootcamp, and I said I liked the inventiveness they brought out. G2 have very much quashed that invention in the first 15 minutes of this game. Hansama 3-0-2 with a 2.3k gold lead. Mid lane also a 1,500 gold advantage for Caps.
Now, as we enter the mid game, while I think it's fair to criticize G2's early game performance in the finals, one of the things I think they did very well in the mid game was how they play around Caps on side lane. Yeah. We saw Fnatic taking kind of page out of that book and doing it for Humanoid yesterday, but look, they even gave him the Herald, and what they'll often do is they'll play towards that side of the map. They'll often make sure that he has that extra reinforcement, and he is just so quick at getting all those resources funneled into him. Those Corki games where he was 0-2 in lane, he was behind, you see him in 5 minutes time, and all of a sudden he's even on CS, even on gold, and he's caught up in itemization, and it's just G2's kind of proactive mid-game play of let's make sure that our side laner is getting funneled, getting good resources, and during this downtime between objectives, we're making sure that Caps is being set up for success. And the problem that Fresskowy now finds himself in is, due to dying in the mid lane, getting caught on the sides as well, means that he now just can't match. And again, we're seeing a perfect example of it right now. Caps is on the top side of the map. They're immediately using their mid prior with the Kalista to move into the top side, and they find a pick.
That was a super nice move, by the way, by G2. They went into bot side and then immediately doubled back and went up top side as well, suddenly catching someone off guard, shadowing Caps in the side lane too and leaving them in isolation. I think they have great tools to play the side lane this game. With the Vi, you can immediately snap engage with the shuffle as well. Making picks in side lane is going to be a real threat to MDK.
Caps even has the relative safety of a Seeker's Arm Guard second item here. Already has his Nash's Tooth complete. Fresskowy yet to get his first completed item. Supa only sitting on 1 and boots right now. So across the board, G2 just in advantage. I mean, their wallets are bigger, right? The only place where MDK have a lead is top. And Myrwn, although he has the gun, the Luden's companion, not sure how much damage those shots are going to be doing. I'm not sure it's a high enough caliber to take down G2.
Summit, he's looking for a bit of a play here. Oh, it's Mikyx.
And immediately they go in with the cease and desist as well. Oh, you just pull the trigger. And that's how you fire in. G2 looking for a little bit more as Alvaro tries to keep them away, but the tower should be their prize for now. Shadowing Strike lands onto Alvaro. He's locked back, but has the safety of a second turret to retreat to.
The Q flash was so fast instantly by Mikyx, finding the pick onto the Smolder instantly, and now the carry's just online. Fresskowy has no wave clear either, so they can just free hit the tower hit. There's really nothing MDK can do.
I mean, this really is a statement game so far from G2. 17 minutes in. Oh, ulti.
Elyoya knocked back. He went in with a twisted advance and has to flash to get out of that predicament. But G2 give him a quicker way to the grave. They send him packing. Myrwn being jumped on with the slicing. Maelstrom here by Broken Blade. Can try and trade back in. But even with the Luden's companion, he doesn't really have the damage to work through the health bar of the Kennen.
And I really thought they played towards top more this game. With Smolder down in bot side, you really have no options. You get grubs and you play towards top side with something like Camille or even the Lulu's volatile trades, but they just haven't. They've left Myrwn really in isolation, and the trades down in bot side, the team fights down in bot side, it feels like desperation because they are so slow to scale at this point in the game.
And we look back at this engage, the snap engage from Mikyx completely catches Supa off guard. And the follow-up from Yike as well just gave him no room to be able to flash away. And then MDK is just doing what they can to try and defend the tower, but they don't have the wave clear, and then the follow-through comes from G2.
Yeah. Ezreal's a champion, just has no wave clear at all. And you can see Elyoya, he gets kidnapped here by the Azir shuffle, well played by Caps, baiting him in, threatening to hit the tower as well is super nice. But Elyoya, it feels like frustration because he can't do anything to stop the auto attacks.
Ultimately, this composition from MDK is, it has prio, and its ability to get to the mid to late game can work as long as you just avoid giving G2 those opportunities to force those fights. But G2 was able to find them in the mid lane, and they were able to find them around the dragon. And so MDK making these few mistakes in the early game have just propelled G2 to a, what, 6K gold lead, 7K gold lead?
Almost 7K right now, yeah. They're in a pretty prime position to close this one out.
3 dragons secured, the Baron spawns in a minute and a half, 2 items finished for both carries. I mean, G2 is in a fantastic position, and credit to Mikyx. You know, definitely someone who received a lot of criticism, and like we think back to the checklist that the analyst desk had, you know, the early games have not been super stellar based on the finals. Mikyx was someone that was getting caught pretty consistently during the finals, and Mikyx's 0-0-9. The early game has not been a problem, and yeah, as I said earlier, a real statement game from G2.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man.
So full bot side control now as well. It's super simple for Yike. He can do absolutely anything he wants because the instant R threat, layering on top of the Rell, means that they can threaten the tier 2 as well. It's just such a dire game state because now Elyoya is going to bleed out too.
G2 pushing on 2 sides of the map. Rifo does get a charge in the top lane. Caps looking for that tier 2. Meanwhile, G2 just clearing the wave here in the bot side. Pressuring and taking away jungle camps, starving Elyoya away from any possible farm. MDK, we saw them looking, you know, for a Fnatic bush, looking to try and sneak in, see if Hansama overextended, but G2 are being patient with it, just waiting, continuing the pressure. Drake up in 3 minutes will be Chem Soul for them. Not the most impactful soul, we say that basically every time, but just to remind you, doesn't do too much apart from prep us for the Elder Drake. Nature's Grass coming out from Elyoya. Cap still has the flash. Can he get it out of range? Not quite. True Shot Barrage is going to hit. The tower goes down, as you say. Twisted advance forward. Emperor's Divide back. TP behind, and another TP to follow from MDK. Broken Blade and Myrwn will trade towards the top side of the fight. Flash forward from Fresskowy. Mystic Shot. One hits. He needs another, but he can't quite find his Cap. Dodges to the safety of the tower. And the final arcane shift.
Collapse.
Mystic Shot is not enough. The collapse is happening, as you say. Elyoya on the wrong side of the rift. The chase up onto Fresskowy from Broken Blade himself. Fresskowy stays around. No flash, no mana, no hope in hell of surviving this one. Elyoya is trying to base in the bush, in the enemy jungle. We'll see Fresskowy down. But is Elyoya going to escape? The big question on everyone's lips as he's been caught out. He'll get taken out with the Ignite ticking. Even through the locket, he dashes back in with a twisted advance, and then he falls. Caps looking for more as MDK are on the retreat.
And now they can turn their attention to the Baron. The idea from MDK is to catch Caps on a side lane, but he's just too mobile. They don't have the lockdown, they don't have the damage, and now that they're overextended, it's easy pickings for G2, and at 21 minutes, they're looking to secure the first Baron of the game.
And I get the idea, you know, try to find a pick, stall the game out, but I think you had an easier option in waiting for potentially Myrwn mana on the Ezreal, and that could be your cope angle at the next dragon. Still, they try to pull the trigger up in topside, and it's kudos to Caps, right? He dodges absolutely everything, uses the ER cooldown, and now the stall picking off Elyoya turns into a Nash.
11-1 to G2. As you say, Vedi, a statement from them to be sure. Did wonder what form MDK would come into the season finals with. It's been a while since we last saw them. Hasn't been so long for G2. We saw them struggle in the finals, at least in the early games against Fnatic before turning it around in the mid. But here, this has been domination from basically start to finish. We'll give the first few minutes over to MDK. They did have leads in top and mid. But G2 played well around their bot lane, and now the story isn't really even about Hansama. He's 4-0-4, he's almost at 3 items on this Kalista, but he's a supporting act to the main event that's Caps so far.
Yeah, I think if you're MDK now as well, you've got to sack everything, right? You've got to pray for 2-2-5 stacks on Supa, you've got to get to Myrwn mana on Ezreal, and maybe then, you know, with Lulu plus no hyper carry, it's a little bit rough, but, you know, you have a front to back that's okay enough to find some decent fights.
Still 25 stacks away, man. That's a lot. Your base is going to be in tatters by then. G2 use the pressure that Caps can elicit in the mid lane with that Sun Disc to take down the tier 2 in bot. MDK trying to work their way between the two turrets to defend the mid. Inhib already at half HP, Inhib tower at least. G2, next wave is about 20 seconds away, so MDK can just answer mid here. G2 don't have another wave to support in bot, which means that MDK will have the chance to clear mid and then work their way back towards the bot lane.
G2 playing very calculated here, not overextending their pressure. Yesterday we saw Fnatic playing on all 3 lanes. G2 recognizing the strength of their composition, saying we don't need to do that, let's just play through 2. Don't give MDK an opportunity to find a fight. We know we're that much stronger. They want to leverage the last, well, I say last 2 minutes, they've still got a minute left on the Baron. The Dragon Soul is available, but their sights are on the base.
There we are, synced waves in for them. Inhibitor tower in the mid lane, force true shot barrage coming out, misses Mikyx. MDK still trying to defend here. Yike jumps across the wall to clear out that control ward. Can't quite get onto it. Next wave about 5 seconds away from hitting the bot turret. Caps will take the mid inhib. G2 now push in with that next wave. MDK just really can't find much, can't find any purchase on this game. Their fingers are slipping off the ledge as G2 take a double inhib push.
Yeah, MDK, they have 2 tools to stop a siege, right? That's Maokai ult from Fog of War to stop them sieging on a wave, as well as Supa's ultimate with the Smolder ult. Once they're gone, you can just wait for the next wave as G2 and play on that and siege on that, and that's exactly what they did. Now it's double inhib and soul, and that's really brutal.
I mean, what else is there to say from this game, really? A near perfect game for G2. They lost a Broken Blade in the top lane, they lost the Grubs, sure, but aside from that, they've been pretty much flawless. They've been able to find windows where they could punish MDK, and the big fight that really, I think, swung this game was that Dragon fight. The second Dragon of the game on the bot side, MDK tried to contest it, and G2 very quickly capitalized on that, and they propelled the already ahead Kalista. And really, it's hard to say whether the Lulu was a good pick or not, because we haven't really seen its
neither the top lane is really about to do anything this game.
Yeah, this game really hasn't been about top lane at all. I think in terms of the matchup, Myrwn, it makes sense. Like, I think Lulu can be a good answer, but ultimately in this game, it's offered very little.
Well, Myrwn might be matching the scoreline of Broken Blade in a moment. The cease and desist did go in. Vault Breaker channeled by Yike, but just gets the wild growth out from Myrwn, who is still unkilled this game. The only one on his team to be so. G2 now pushing in the top side with that Chem Soul at their backs. MDK, they have 2 items on Supa. Fresskowy still sitting at 1.5. Abyssal Mask and Locket available for Elyoya. Don't feel like it's enough. 3 items for Hansama, 3 for Caps, and another on the way with that needlessly large rod. G2, even if you have the 225 stacks, which Supa has now crested, I don't think the fight is powerful enough from MDK to hold on.
Yeah, you can see Fresskowy desperately farming here for that Myrwn mana, maybe going to complete it before this next siege up in topside, because those super minions pouring in, he's desperately trying to farm them as fast as he can with the attack speed. Now, if he goes back to base, buys it, and maybe we get a nice ultimate from Maokai from Fog of War, there's an angle. You know, that's the cope take. I don't think it's possible, but BB is also sieging.
Look at the damage on Alvaro. Has to pop the ultimate just to survive. BB sieging, as you say, on the Nexus towers. No wave in top for a few seconds, so MDK have a short moment of respite to try and clear out those supers in mid, but Caps catching the wave in top lane does not give them a moment to breathe. MDK now coming back out, but Alvaro no ult. Very powerful for the Alistar in a fight like this. This is the point that you have to go in. He lands the knock-up on 1. It's only Caps who flashes away. The Magnus Storm will lock Alvaro in place. Face call, pulls out 1. Hansama down to half. MDK still looking for more, but there's the threat of Broken Blade just slicing through that backline if they overstep.
Honestly, best case scenario for MDK, that fight looks really close, and if the gold deficit wasn't as big as it is, that could have been a turning point, but they couldn't quite lock down a member. They didn't quite have the damage. Now Caps returns to the fold, fully healed back up, spent what last of the gold he has, level 16 Azir, and the base is falling apart for MDK.
You've burnt all your ultimates as MDK as well, so G2 very willing just to step up. The first Nexus tower falls, the third inhib tower follows it. Caps can just step forward and remain held down upon that Nexus turret. He dodges away from the Mystic shot. Alvaro is back up, but no flash to his name. Yike has that cease and desist. The Emperor's Divide still a possibility for G2. MDK, the last vestige of hope quickly being extinguished here by Caps, who just shreds through Supa. Twisted advance forward, but there's the Zhonya's to buy a second. Mikyx diving in as well, and the slicing Maelstrom finds the backline. G2 are done with this game, and MDK can only stand and watch on their fountain as G2 will take game one in convincing fashion. Caps is still alive, Betty. You can say hang on all you want, but MDK can't. G2 will take the Nexus, and they'll go 1-0 up.
Smiles on the faces of Caps, as they should be. 7-0-6, the scoreline for him. And a statement has been made. G2 definitely look to be back in form, at least based on the first game of this series.
And I think also ultimately a bit too greedy for MDK's draft. I think there's way too much scaling on this team unless you're playing for those cross-map up on the top side. Question marks around that Lulu pick. Is that really the best angle? As well as the Smolder, is that too much scaling?
Well, we'll have to see if things change up in game two. The road to Munich is well underway. Let's check in with Adam for his thoughts on the upcoming grand finals at Olympiahalle München. München? München.
The champion that will come mostly in like Munich, etc. will probably Cassante or Ornn. Almost every game you will have one picked. In a high stakes game, usually you will ask your top laner to bring frontline or engage. And Cassante does frontline, Ornn provides engage.
Just walks up and kills him. It's a Quadra. Cassante, baby! Get the copy ready. Get the pasta ready. He's still in the game. Penta.
I didn't play much in front of a big crowd, to be honest. My only time was maybe LFL days, I would assume, and Worlds last year. So Munich is like way bigger than that, so it's even more of a buff because I would say that I'm like a player that performs super well under the pressure. Unfortunately, we got 3-0 against Fnatic, but this is the moment, you know, to surprise people and reach the top, and this is now or never.
Oh man, I feel like that was my best intro ever.
Yeah, not bad, hey, not bad.
Talented.
I can go pro. You know it as well. I also know you can dance. You should join me next time. And yes, I feel like you've also deserved a bit of a break. You've earned it.
Thanks.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Good job.
Hey, thank you.
Red Bull gives you wings.